Hello students, in today's lecture we will study thoracic cage or bones of thorax. Now the thorax, it is a skeletal framework which is formed by thoracic vertebra which is present on the back side, and in front side it consists of sternum which is a flat bone. Next comes the costal cartilage and ribs which are present in the front. Now the costal cartilage, they are the bars which are extended from the hyaline cartilage, and these helps in attachment of ribs to the sternum, and along with that they provide some amount of flexibility to the thoracic walls. So this is the basic composition of thoracic cage. Now the role of thoracic cage or the function of thoracic cage is to protect the heart and lungs. Generally there are 12 pairs of ribs. First 7 pairs, they are called as true ribs. Now why they are called as true ribs? Because these ribs, they are directly attached to the sternum. Next comes the false ribs. There are 3 pairs of false ribs which are joined to the 7th rib. Next comes the 2 pairs of floating ribs. Now as you can see this is the basic anatomy of ribs. See, this one is the sternum, this is the flat bone. At back side, as you can see, these 2 to 3 bones, they are continued upwards. This is the thoracic vertebra. Here these are the 12 pairs of ribs, and this blue colored part, it is the costal cartilage, or we can say cartilage. Okay, now as you can see, this 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7, these 7 ribs, they are directly attached here to the sternum. Next are these 3 pairs of ribs, this 8 9 and 10. As these 3 ribs, they are not directly attached to the sternum, hence they are called as false ribs. But these 3 8 9 and 10 ribs, they are attached here to the 7th rib. See, this one is the 7th rib. Okay, to this 7th rib, this 8 9 and 10 are attached, hence they are called as false ribs. And here this side, these are the 11 and 12, these are the floating ribs. Why they are called floating ribs? Because they are attached here only to the thoracic vertebra, but in front they are not attached to any kind of rib or any type of rib, hence they are called as floating ribs. So this is the basic anatomy of ribs. Now when this all parts, they come together, they will form a thoracic cage. See, again, see, this is the view of the thoracic cage. In back side, this is the thoracic vertebra, these are the ribs. This is the front view of the thoracic cage. Next, moving further, we will see parts one by one. First one is the sternum. Now this is also called as breastbone. It is very flat and it has 2 surfaces, that is the anterior surface and posterior surface. See, as you can see here, this one is the anterior surface, and at the back side comes the posterior surface. Now generally this sternum, it is composed of 2 plates. It is a combination of compact bone, and it consists of a layer of spongy bone in between, and in between they consist of red bone marrow. Now this sternum, it is again divided into 3 parts: manubrium, corpus and xiphoid process. Okay, as you can see in this image, this is a single sternum, or we can say this is a breastbone. Now again it is divided into 3 parts. This one is the manubrium, or let us see this image. This part is the manubrium. Okay, this middle part, it is called as body, and this part it is called as xiphoid process. All these parts, they join together and they will form a sternum. Now first we will study is the manubrium. So it is the upper part of sternum, and on the sides of this manubrium, facets are present for the attachment of ribs. Now this manubrium, On the upper side it will articulate. See, these are the facets. These small narrow like hole like structure, they are called as facet. So here in the facet of manubrium, firstly clavicle will get joint, and that joint is called as sternoclavicular joint. Now there are, in the two sternoclavicular joint, intraclavicular notch is present, and inside this notch these clavicle bones are joined. Now the cartilage of first rib, it is joined just below the sternoclavicular joint. See, in this part here will be the joint of clavicle, which is called as sternoclavicular joint. Here immediately our first rib will get joined. Next is the body. Now body is called as middle portion of the sternum. So body, it starts, see here the manubrium ends, and immediately from here the body starts. So basically this is the junction for starting, or this is a junction where manubrium ends and body starts. Now when the manubrium and body, these two meet, the body, it is angled slightly backwards. That angle is called as sternal angle. Now the importance of this sternal angle is that it is important for breathing. While we breathe, it will help in expansion of rib cage at the slightest amount. So whenever the manubrium meets the body, at that meeting point there is a angle which is formed backwards, and this formed angle, it will help in expansion of rib cage during the process of breathing. Next we will study third part is the xiphoid process. See, this one is the xiphoid process. This is the lower part of sternum, and it consists of cartilage where our seventh ribs gets joined. See, again this is the notch, okay, where our clavicle will join, and that joint is called as sternoclavicular joint. This part or this notch, it is for joining of first ribs, followed by second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh rib, it joins at the lower part of sternum called as xiphoid process. Now it is said that xiphoid process, it is the small process, but it helps in attachment, or various points of organs and large muscles are joined to this xiphoid process. See, as you can see, this is the sternum. Here comes the clavicle. This joint is called as sternoclavicular joint. This is our joining of first rib, followed by second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh rib, it will join at the sternum part. Again, see, this is the closer view of sternum, where you can see this is the costal cartilage, or this is the facet for first rib. This is the facet, and this is the costal cartilage of the first rib. These two join together. Here is a notch for joining of clavicle, hence it is called as clavicular notch. And when the clavicle meets here, it will form a sternoclavicular joint. Sterno stands for sternum, clavicular stands for clavicle. Here there are different notches for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth rib. This 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rib, they are joined to the body, and this seventh rib, it is joined to the xiphoid process. Okay, that joint, it is also called as xiphisternal joint. Okay, so the second part ribs we will see in our next lecture. Thank you.